everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday Live on answering your questions on women's health, training, fitness, you name it, basically. This month we're going to be talking about how to reduce the pelvic floor load when running. So I saw a meme years ago that really sort of defined this way of thinking for me, and it said that pelvic floor dysfunction never killed anyone, but not being able to exercise does. And basically what it was trying to say was when someone can't exercise, they're missing a massive treatment for their mental health, so anxiety management, depression management, and people do die from that. And so when I started thinking about running, and as you know, I do a lot of pelvic health in my sessions, I was thinking about how to keep women running. Not to say, oh, you have prolapse, therefore you can't run anymore. Yes, there is load. Yes, for some women, it can make a prolapse worse. But for hundreds of thousands of others, modifying it, so still running, but changing the way you run or where you run or how you run, can reduce that pelvic load to a load that your pelvic floor may or may not be able to handle. You find the line in the sand, basically. So that's what we're going to be talking about this month. And I wanted to talk about it, you know, primarily because of the little campaign we did last month, which was about modifying doesn't mean make easier. Modifying means let's get away from there's only one way to deadlift, one way to run, and let's modify it for a female body or anybody, someone with, you know, living with a disability or cerebral palsy or an injury like a pelvic injury. Let's get to this place where modifying is about position and form, not about harder and easier, okay? So if you're interested in last month's, I've put the details of the burpee challenge in the caption for this video. So we want to coach our clients to keep running without making it easier per se. So my number one tip for unloading the pelvic floor a little bit while running is to coach a 4-foot landing with barefoot practice. So I think most of us know a quarter of the bones of our body and joints and connections are in our feet. Our feet are actually sort of wildly elastic in this point here. Sorry, my feet are dirty, I get around barefoot a lot. So basically the point is when you 4-foot land, you land on the 4-foot, not on the toes, not on the heels, but on the 4-foot. And what that does is when it relaxes, the foot spreads and it actually absorbs a bunch of impact, plus reducing the impact on the lower limb. Now, the ground reaction forces in the papers I've studied were all measured on the ankle and knee joints. However, we can assume, since the pelvis is, you know, one joint complex up, that if ground reaction force is reduced with a 4-foot landing on the ankle and the knee, it is also reduced on the pelvis. And that has been my experience, but I'm just one person. I am not a double-blind randomized controlled study. So, to demonstrate this point, this is a really good exercise if you all want to get up out of your chairs. But I'd like you to just get up and do a little pop jump for me. Okay, and just take a note of how you landed. And then do it again, but land on your heels. I'm not going to do it. And maybe now you've realised why I'm not going to do it. It doesn't feel good, does it? You can feel that impact travelling up your bones and lower back into your brain, right? So if we take the shoes off in our sessions and we start to coach a 4-foot landing, really taking advantage of that elasticity or retraining it, relearning it in our clients' feet. We start with the little pop jump, what I just demonstrated. We progress to jumping, landing on one leg, so I'll show you that too. And then you can progress to things like hopping, multi-directional hopping, split lunges where you lunge, jump, lunging to hopping, so, and then bounding on one leg. So this is sort of strength and conditioning principles, but applied to a pelvis. I don't want to say dysfunctional pelvis. I want to say a pelvis that is not withstanding the forces of gravity that is required by running. So this is like a fantastic strategy. It is where I would start with a client who's, you know, new back from having a baby, or, you know, they're an athlete. We know athletes are a lot of the time, especially running athletes, more than twice as likely to develop a pelvic dysfunction. So when I'd be rehabbing them back to running, that's where I would start. Barefoot, 4-foot landing drills, and retraining their running style to a 4-foot landing practice. Any questions? I